There is a particular kind of person who can describe their future in vivid detail, the business they'll start, the body they'll build, the book they'll write. Ask them about it and they'll talk for an hour, eyes lit up, hands moving. But ask them what they did about it this week, and the room goes quiet. This isn't laziness. Laziness is simple. A person doesn't want to do the work. This is different. These people want it badly. They think about it constantly. And still, nothing moves. To understand why, you have to understand what the dreaming is actually doing for them. Picturing a future self already produces a hit of reward in the brain. The same circuitry that fires when you achieve something fires, in a smaller way, when you simply imagine achieving it. The mind doesn't fully distinguish between rehearsing a win and having one. So, the fantasy becomes self-sustaining. Every time this person imagines the finished version of their goal, they get a small emotional payoff without ever touching the risk, the boredom, or the possibility of failing. Actual work offers none of that comfort. Work is uncertain. It might not go well. It might reveal that the dream was harder than it looked, or that the dreamer isn't as talented as they hoped. The dream costs nothing. The attempt costs everything. So, a trade happens quietly, underneath conscious awareness. The person keeps the identity. I'm the kind of person who's going to build something, without ever risking the identity. As long as the plan stays in the future, it can never fail. The moment it becomes real, it can. There's a name researchers give to part of this. It's a way the mind protects self-esteem. If you never really tried, you never really failed. You can always tell yourself you would have succeeded if only you'd had more time, more money, the right conditions. The failure never gets to happen, and neither does the proof. Underneath that is usually something more tender, a fear that isn't really about the goal at all. It's the fear of finding out for certain what you're capable of, and discovering it's less than you hoped. Childhood often plants the first version of this pattern. A kid who was praised heavily for potential, so smart, so talented, and rarely praised for effort, learns an unspoken lesson. The value is in being the kind of person who could, not in doing. Grades come easily, so trying hard is never required and never modeled. Trying hard starts to feel like an admission that talent wasn't enough on its own. Years later, that same person stalls in front of any project that requires sustained, unglamorous effort, because effort was never where their worth came from. For others, the block comes from a home where mistakes were met with harsh correction, not curiosity. A child who was scolded for a wrong answer, or mocked for an idea that didn't land, learns to keep ideas exactly where they're safe, inside. Dreaming costs nothing there. Speaking it out loud, acting on it, exposing it to judgment, that's where the danger lives. Whatever the origin, the pattern rewards itself. The bigger the dream stays in the imagination, the better it feels to think about, and the more terrifying it becomes to test. Some people spend a decade circling the same idea, growing more attached to it and less able to touch it, the size of the gap between fantasy and action becoming its own kind of prison. The way out isn't more motivation. Motivation was never the missing ingredient. These are, by definition, highly motivated fantasies. The way out is making the first step small enough that it doesn't feel like a referendum on your whole identity. Not start the business, send one email, not write the book. Write one paragraph, badly. The nervous system doesn't fear big goals. It fears the exposure of a real attempt. So, the real attempt has to be smuggled in, disguised as something too small to threaten the dream. Because in the end, the dream was never the problem. The person protecting it from contact with reality was.